Hello, and welcome to a special edition of WEBN Political Pulse. I'm your host, Patty Tamayo. Today, our show will have 3 different segments focusing on White House news, international news, and analysis of what's happening in Texas. First, we go to our White House correspondent, Sammy Neves. What do you have for us, Sammy?
Vice President Kamala Harris is showing that she's intending to play an important role in the White House. The Vice President's taking calls with the foreign leaders on behalf of Joe Biden. Weeks into office, she has already held calls with the French President Emmanuel Macron, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and the World Health Organization Director Dr. Tedros Adhanom. Those calls that were usually performed by President Trump during the last administration were held without the presence of President Joe Biden. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki refuses to answer questions about Andrew Cuomo's COVID-19 nursing home scandals. The New York governor, Andrew Cuomo, is under investigation by the FBI for a scandal regarding the cover-up of his administration's decision to send coronavirus patients into nursing homes and other long-term care facilities. It is estimated that this decision was responsible for most of the 13,000 COVID deaths in New York nursing homes. New York State Assemblyman Ron Kim claimed that Governor Cuomo personally threatened to destroy his career if he did not engage in the cover-up of the scandal. Even though President Biden considered Andrew Cuomo the gold standard when it comes to leadership in the pandemic, New York remains the state with the second highest COVID death toll in the United States.
Thanks, Sammy. When we come back, we take a deep look on what's going on in Texas. Don't go anywhere.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average 4-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Two severe winter storms hit North America between February 10 and 17. As a result, Texas is facing the after effects of an ongoing crisis that includes mass power outages, water and food shortages, and dangerous weather conditions. These events have sparked many questions from the public. Some wonder why the storm impacted Texas so much specifically. Others are unsure about the protocols followed and what the responses are from local and federal government. Luckily, we have included a special segment for the show to analyze the issue. So, on to the first question. Why was Texas especially impacted? The answer lays in the infrastructure of the state's energy system. Their climate is not one regularly impacted by snowstorms. These severe weather conditions left the state of Texas unprepared to face a crisis like this. Power outages impacted several Texas counties. The Republican Governor Greg Abbott initially blamed it on frozen wind turbines. This was a common narrative that many mainstream media outlets followed in the beginning. However, our sources point that this was later put in question as research showed something different. So, what led the local government to think that in the beginning? Many pro-fossil fuel politicians within their party are often eager to undermine alternative sources of energy. It is therefore convenient to blame it on renewable energy as a way to question whether low-power carbon methods can meet the country's energy needs. So this points there might be a political strategy underneath these statements. What kind of political strategy? Well, this could be part of the ongoing bipartisan disputes about the most efficient ways to run policies. Several Democratic Party members were quick to challenge the governor's claims. Instead, they argued it was the fossil fuel industry that was to blame for the issue. They instead made the case that this is one of many issues that the U.S. will have to face as a consequence of climate change.
When disaster strikes, this is not just an issue for Texans, this is an issue for our entire country. And our whole country needs to come and rally together behind the needs of Texans all across the state.
So what is the truth? What we know as of now is that electricity failures were largely caused by frozen natural gas pipelines. We also know that the state was unprepared to face a storm like this since it is unusual for Texas to get cold during the winter. As Texan citizens become overwhelmed by growing energy bills, they ask for ways of getting relief. Republican leaders have proposed to provide it through federal funds, and President Joe Biden seems to be in agreement. Joe Biden has said more on the issue. On Saturday, the president declared it a major disaster and released funding to help. He says he is, quote, eager to go down to Texas and show his support, end quote. This leads to the question, why has this been declared a major disaster? Several people are struggling to find the resources, both to survive daily and pay their electricity bills. The New York Times reported one case in which 63-year-old veteran living in the suburbs of Dallas faced an electricity bill for nearly $17,000. That is 70 times what he would usually pay. His situation is just one among many that the citizens of Texas are facing. Scandals about Texas government began to rise up in the midst of the chaos. Senator Ted Cruz was highly criticized by the public and fellow GOP congressmen for traveling during the crisis. The U.S. senator left the state in crisis as he fled along with his family members to the Mexican city of Cancun. He was since called the trip a, quote, mistake that he would not have done in hindsight, end quote. Congress members continue to monitor the situation as it is clear that if Texas continues to face weather issues in the future, a change of its current energy policies is overdue. What is unclear is the path which Congress will take, as the topic of climate change and renewable energy usually stirs up bipartisan disputes. There is your up-to-date synopsis on Texas. After the break, we will have our international news segment. We will be right back.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
Welcome back. We have our international news correspondent Sydney Cohen with the latest on Israel's vaccination rollout. Sydney?
Thanks, Patty. Israel has started administering COVID-19 vaccines to high school students. The country is the first to vaccinate people between the ages of 16 to 18. In order to receive the vaccine, the teenagers must receive parental consent. Since the rollout of the vaccination back in December, Israel has already vaccinated over 2.5 million of its 9 million citizens. A former Nazi concentration camp guard has been deported to Germany from the U.S. 95-year-old Frederick Karl Berger arrived in Frankfurt, Germany on a special flight from Tennessee. This is after an immigration judge discovered he extended his services during World War II. Berger was found to help guard prisoners during a forced evacuation that claimed the lives of 70 people. He is currently under investigation, and German officials will determine the next steps of his conviction. New Zealand schools will now offer free sanitary products to students beginning in June. In a statement, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern and Associate Education Minister Jan Tinetti said the program is open to all primary, secondary, and intermediate schools. The schools will need to opt to be in the program by March. Before the program was approved by government officials, a pilot program had been conducted. This pilot program has aided over 3,200 girls. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern stated that young people, quote, should not miss out on their education because of something that is a normal part of life for half the population. That's all I have for international news. Patty?
Thank you, Sydney. In honor of Black History Month, we want to highlight a Bostonian cultural icon who made an impact in the arts. Elma Lewis founded the National Center for Afro-American Artists in 1968. This was after opening the Elma Lewis School of Fine Arts in Roxbury. Lewis described the project as a place where African American people could state their Black heritage and share their culture and beauty with each other and with white people. Thank you for joining us on this special edition of WEBN Political Pulse. For more, visit our website WEBN.TV and our YouTube channel WEBN-TV Boston. I'm Patty Tamayo. Have a good night.